Hey everybody, welcome to the third Patreon Q&A. Hopefully the production quality is starting to go up. I know I still have a few other things to iron out, including getting the white balance set every time. Sometimes it's perfect, sometimes it's not. The Sony A300 camera is awesome and shitty at the same time. The way you get into the features and everything kind of drives me crazy, but the quality's good. I like the quality of the mic, so I think this is what it's going to be from now on. I just need to get the last little things squared away. The USB device, the laptop, I don't know, all the boring stuff. I'll do a video once it's all done showing what I learned, and if anybody else wants to do anything like this, how they could save themselves a ton of time not having to go through the crap I went through. But anyway, let's just jump right in and start doing the Q&As. First up, Sterling Ferens talked a little bit more about CRT projectors and how you could use them with light guns, and he even showed an image gallery of the one that he uses. It's got B and C inputs and everything, so I'm getting more and more excited about messing with CRT projectors. I'm definitely going to get my hands on one somehow. I really want to dig in and just test everything I possibly can about it, because if you really can't have a 100-inch duck hunt, or he has a 120-inch duck hunt, then I'm totally down. Sterling also wants to make the point that if you have a good enough projector, it might be close to as sharp as a BVM. You know, that's coming from him. No offense, I would have to see that to believe it, because the first time I saw a calibrated BVM, I was blown away. I didn't think it was humanly possible for something to look like that. So hopefully I'll be pleasantly surprised, but no plans soon to get into CRT projecting, most because I have no space whatsoever to even try it. But I would say by the end of the year, I'm going to have a rig somewhere, even if I got to store it at a friend's house or something, just to try and get some testing done and to really go through the experience of it and see what I think. Smoke Monster chimed in with some advice about the camera and lenses I was using, and he recommended a Sigma 19mm lens for video. And I looked into it, and it's definitely more affordable than some of the other stuff. But I'm mentioning this because I definitely want to do a video on my full setup once I'm moved into the new place and get everything going, because I just feel like I've spent so much time and so much money on trying to get this right, that if I could just lay out what I did and why, maybe other people who are looking to have similar setups could save themselves the pain that I went through. So thanks to Smoke Monster for helping me out with the lens advice and stuff. Chadwick Kruger had a question about a Ssharp TV. So that's one of those TVs with a Nintendo built in. So very cool that you were able to find one of those things, by the way. But his question was about getting jail bars and solid screens. And I've never even seen one of those in person, but my guess would be that it's the same as everything else in the jail bar world, in that it's almost always composite video coupling. Sometimes it's things like extra or wrong filters in the mix, but I would actually see if Jason from Game Tech would be able to help, because I think he either had one or has one. So maybe he has a couple of tips, or if you're in the US, maybe he'd even be willing to repair it for you or do some work on it. But that's a tough one, and keep me updated, because I really like neat little things like that. You know, there weren't too many of those made, so definitely keep it. And you know, even if you have to get a second NES RGB solution, I'd hold on to that. It's a pretty awesome piece of history. Mike W. said he got a SNES Mini that he wants to get RGB modded, and he wanted to know if I could recommend a modding service that would be good for the job. I try not to do this too often, just because I don't want to show favorites, and somebody mentioned a few years ago that by having like trusted modders, it's an accidental slap in the face to all the people that I don't talk about. But if you're in the US, I would talk to iFixRetro. You could find them on Twitter. Obviously Voltar if he's taking repairs. And pretty much any of the people that I associate with all the time that do mods, they're all going to be good quality, because if they weren't, all of our friends would tell them. Also, I believe Firebrand X is starting to do mods, and in the UK, there's I would just talk to Matt from Video Game Perfection. He personally doesn't do mods, but he makes sure to get good people to help him. So all of those are pretty decent choices, but maybe if you want to message me directly, I could try to get you in touch with somebody that's closest to you. There's a bunch of other people, and some specialize in more of the crazier stuff. Others can do, well, they all can do everything, but others might be better to go do for something like a Mini, just because it's a quicker thing, and you might not have to get on somebody's waiting list if they specialize in some of the crazier mods. So I hope that was at least a small help. Firebrand X asked if I'm going to be doing more with the green screen, and he had a couple of other suggestions, and the answer is yes to all of them. The only thing that everybody should probably know about a green screen is if you're just looking for it as a backdrop, it's fine. If I'd known I was going to be using it like this, I probably would have bought like something with a pattern on it, like my logo. But to make it like an actual green screen where you're able to edit it out of the picture and stick something in its place, it has to be perfectly evenly lit. And that way everything is the exact same solid color, so you could just remove that one chroma from Premiere or whatever your editing software is. And I live in a closet, so I don't have enough room, because it usually has to be like 4 feet behind you at least. So in the new place, I hope to get that set up. I'd at least be able to get different things so I could set it up, hang it from the ceiling, set up some lights. But the only reason I haven't done that, and a lot of other things, is just simply because of space. So hopefully that'll be something that I could work on soon, within a month or two. But good suggestion. Oh, I'm gonna mess this next one up bad. Johannes Reb? Sorry. But they had a question about 480p sources on BVMs maybe looking a little ghosty and having some interference. And I've actually seen that before. And there's two things I would check first. First, are you using really good quality cables? Because the higher resolution you go, the easier it is for, you know, weird things to come out. And also, have you tried calibrating at different resolutions? I could be wrong about this, but I think if you calibrate a BVM at 240p and then you enter a 480p source, you have to recalibrate. So those are the two things I would check with first. All of my stuff is going to be in storage till the end of June. Otherwise, I would have pulled out my D32 and tried to help out a little bit more. But maybe people in the comments who have the same monitor might be able to help. He's got a D24 and a D14. Clifford Haight has a question regarding using the Ssharp 68000 on his Ikegami monitor. And to be honest, I'm not really sure what the compatibility issues might be. I don't have a 68000, but I believe Voltar does, so I'll try and remember to ask him on the next roundup, which will be tomorrow, if the next retro roundtable, which would be tomorrow if you guys are watching this the day it comes out. But it sounds to me like it's outputting an odd timing that maybe might be compatible with some monitors but not others. Kind of like what you see on the BVMs that aren't compatible with Master System or any of them, the ones without VCR mode. So I would check all the settings in the Ikegami, and if possible, maybe just try a cheap VGA monitor to see if it'll work with that, just to be able to track down, is it an incompatible signal, is it something else? But I'll see if I remember to ask for you, because that's a pretty good question. Armed and Overclocked asked, the Sadiator by Professor Abrasive looks to be getting close to a beta. Will I be part of that? I really hope so. I support him on Patreon, so hopefully I'll be able to get in and purchase one of his beta units or even one of the pre-betas and test it. I think that's going to be the best Saturn solution, but I guess only time will tell, and I hope I'm able to get in on that. Colin Kenny asked if I could have a Patreon-only podcast feed for people that want to listen to this audio only. That's a great idea, and for some reason I just never even thought of it. I'll definitely figure out a way to make that happen, but for now you could use a couple of different programs to pull the audio off of YouTube, and I'll email Patreon and see if they have anything like that set up. But based on my previous Patreon customer support experience, I imagine I'll get a response a week from now that says no. Brian Harmon asked, what's the best way to play Laserdiscs on a BVM? And while I haven't done this myself yet, but you damn well bet you're going to get a video on that before the summer's over. Scott's going to come over and we're going to watch something ridiculous on Laserdisc. But anyway, what I've been told from people that I trust is that Laserdiscs are encoded in composite video, so you really don't get any bonus out of doing anything else. So you have a BVM that's designed to have analog content, so just get a really great shielded cable and use that to connect composite video right into your BVM, and it's probably about as good as it's going to get. The other things you can do are, some Laserdisc players have S-video outputs, which you know, there is a bit of a debate that says if you have something that's encoded in composite video, breaking it out to S video is not going to get you any better quality. But that being said, the length of a composite video cable will affect the quality, because you're just basically going to have all of that combined signal traveling down the same cable. So if the composite signal is split to S video right away and you need to have a longer run, you might actually get a bit of a picture boost from using S video. But basically, if you have a good quality composite video cable and a BVM, just plug the Laserdisc player right in and you'll be really, really thrilled with the results. David Troll asked, what's my recommendation for a Neo Geo AES ROM cart? So Darksoft's AES cart isn't out yet, but I believe it's coming pretty soon. And it's my opinion that you should just pick whichever one fits your needs better. I prefer a straightforward menu. So just pick your game, load, wait, and play. And right now that's what the Neo SD is. At the moment, Darksoft's cart, you basically pick 3 games, load them up into memory, and you could always select between the 2, or between the 3. Or alternatively, you could only have one loaded, and then you could program it to go to the menu or to the game. But no matter how you do it, it's not as simple and straightforward. I believe there will be a menu in the future where it will be just a straightforward upgrade, downgrade, however you want to call it, to the Darksoft cart. But at the moment, those are really the 2 best choices. Yes, the Neo SD team is having another Neo Geo card out that's pretty much copying the Darksoft idea of loading a few into RAM. And I don't really know how I feel about that, because I kind of liked that they each did something a little different. And it seems a little pointless because the Darksoft one already offers that. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong a lot, so maybe when that one comes out, there'll be something else about it. But right now, if you want an AES ROM cart right away, right now, just buy the Neo SD. I recommend getting it from Stone Age Gamer, because you do not want to have to deal with those guys for customer service issues. Just go to a reputable place and buy it from there and never have to worry about it. If you don't mind waiting, and maybe you'd want to wait for the Darksoft cart, only if you wanted the extra feature of having more than one game loaded up into memory at the same time, or if you wanted any of the other things that he had promised, like I believe he's open sourcing the menu at some point, so that'll allow for a lot of other things. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with either one. I don't really have any complaints. It's just what you prefer in the moment. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty much as straightforward as I can explain it, and hopefully that answers your question. Chris Larson asked, if somebody needs to send me something, is there an address to go by or just to contact me directly? At the moment, just contact me directly, but I'm actually setting up a P.O. box this week for business reasons anyway, so I'll probably just list that on the site. And just for the record, anything that gets sent to me will always end up in a good home. I've only made a few mistakes over the years that were a little embarrassing, but I don't treat stuff people send me the way a lot of other YouTubers do. Probably sounds like a douchey thing to say, but there's all those people that are always begging for free stuff. And while I always beg to borrow things to test, and sometimes I beg to skip the line, which is a little rude, but I still pay for everything. But the stuff people send me goes to reviews. I then send it to other people that might want to review it. There's been some cool junk, and I use the word junk with love, by the way, but there's been some cool junk sent to me over the years that you know, I got to test it and play with it, and then I ran into somebody else, another modder or YouTuber that just went nuts when they saw it, so we traded, and then I got something else that I got to do a review on. So maybe by explaining it, you're going, oh, screw you. No. But in my opinion, I really treat things that people send me with respect, and I think I've only sold 1 or 2 things by accident, and it was only when I was getting rid of everything. I didn't like wake up in the morning and just say, you know, hey, I'm going to make some money off of this stuff. It was just when I had to sell everything like 6 months ago. I think I sold an Acura from the Behar brothers. I emailed him as soon as I realized what I did, and you know, and just squared it away with Yossi. That was really embarrassing. And I think I did that one or two other times with smaller stuff. And then Chris actually donated something that I bought a bunch of accessories for and forgot that he had donated the console. So, but Yeah, I promise I'll try my hardest to never do that again. I was just, you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and I was getting rid of everything and accidentally sold it. But anything else you got, it's going to go to the right place. If it's cool and weird, you expect it to be sent around to the guys in the round table and other modders I know that might want to do an experiment on it or have some fun. So thanks for the offer, and thanks for not thanks for not getting offended when I messed with you last week. Obviously, I was being silly, so glad you took it the right way. And speaking of Chris, he actually had a great question. Is there any advantage to using mini DisplayPort instead of mini HDMI ports on some of these digital HDMI mods? From a functional and technical standpoint, no. They're actually going to, you know, at the very least at the resolutions that we're using now, no, there's not going to be any quality, any audio or video difference whatsoever. The advantage might be that I don't think you have to pay for the same licensing or worry about that. But then the disadvantage is you would need to buy a special DisplayPort to HDMI cables. And I think as long as it's digital to digital, so DVI, HDMI, and DisplayPort, it's just a pass-through. I think you only need a chip in there when it's VGA as well. But, you know, to that point, maybe that might be an advantage because then you could use one of those passive DisplayPort to VGA adapters. So actually, now that I say this, maybe there is an advantage to DisplayPort. But that's something I'll ask the guys that are doing the mods about and see if they could offer any insight. Because anytime you could offer more features for free, I mean, it seems like a pretty good idea. So yeah, it's a good question, and I don't think that's going to be something I'll be able to answer soon. But as I re-interview all the people that are doing the HDMI mods and maybe finally get a hold of Marshall, then I'll definitely bring that question up, because that opens up a door of possibilities. Dave posted a great question about power conditioning and how you could use the correct equipment to not introduce any kind of interference into your consoles or equipment. And this is something that haunts me in all of my hobbies. You know, the sine wave power supply UPS that I used to get rid of most of the noise in my amp was a big help. But as you found, that's not always the perfect solution for every scenario. And the more I learn about it, the more I realize I don't have as solid a grasp on the subject as I thought. And you can go down the rat hole of spending a lot of money on this stuff that's really unnecessary. I've been in situations before where I've plugged in a console and a BVM into a wall and everything was flawless. I've been in situations where I have really expensive surge protectors or UPSs or vice versa, and I still get some weird noise. And I still had that Wii issue maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, where I would just get a random ripple up the screen, just like that. And it was definitely power related. And I tried everything. I tried plugging the TV and the Wii into the same UPS, into 2 separate UPSs, and these are just cheaper sub $100 APCs. I tried plugging them both into the wall, and nothing fixed it. And then one day it never happened again. So it was definitely a power issue and not cables, because I tried a bunch of sets of cables and everything else. And I don't know. I remember when you asked the question a while back, and I just I didn't have as good of an answer as I wanted to go into detail. So maybe I'll do some more research, and once I get settled into my new place, I could try to figure out what is the best power conditioning for each scenario. I imagine it might be different for CRTs versus OLED versus plasma. Maybe not. It's definitely going to be different, as we learned, from audio equipment to video equipment. But all I know for sure is it's definitely over my head, and I need to talk to a lot more people that are experts in this stuff before I can give a solid answer. Because it's very easy to spend a lot of unnecessary money, and I want to just try to help people get the best solution for the best cost. So hopefully we'll all just be picking up decently priced surge protectors and UPSs for our different needs. But still a great question, and I still don't have a great answer. Sorry, dude. Daniel Calderon asked, PackAPunch SCART cables or HD RetroVision cables for your OSSC? Yes. In all seriousness, when I had my little mini rig for a while, I used the OSSC as both a switch and an upscaler. So I just happened to have my Genesis HD RetroVision cables with me, so I used that into component. I had my PackAPunch RGB cable for Super Nintendo, and then I forgot, I think I made a custom cable to go into the VGA side of things, so I could have 3 consoles hooked up at the same time. But you're really not going to notice a quality difference between those two, and the only thing I could suggest is buy something that you might have a chance of using in a second place. So if you were going all RGB, just get the RGB cable, eventually get a G-SCART, whatever it is. If you have a flat screen and then maybe a consumer grade US CRT, that means it's probably easier to use component across the board. But really just pick whichever one fits your setup better, because you're not going to notice a quality difference from either. They're both excellent. It really at this point is just between what works best for your setup. Another good one from Colin Kenny. He asked about the cheap PC Engine AV booster that's been on eBay for a while for about $24 shipped from Hong Kong, and asked if it's any good and if it'll fry your gear. It's not good, and it won't fry your gear in the fact that you won't plug it in and have it explode, but it's electrically not well built. And I actually purchased one mostly just because I wanted to troll Renee. I was hoping it'd be awesome just so I could tease him, but it is not awesome. And I sent it down to Voltar, and I think I sent one to Renee as well to test under a scope, and it just was awful. So definitely don't waste your money on that one. You also mentioned the SSD S3, and while that's a great optical drive emulator and ROM cart, it's still not great with the video. You need to do a mod to it. Now normally I'm all for stuff like that, except if you're spending a ton of money on a product, then have to open it up, buy a mod, and the mod's pretty easy, but that's just, you know, it's something that I don't think should be the way it is. So it's my opinion that if you're going to buy, if you really want the best, look at any of the existing proven and tested mods, internal mods for your PC Engine. If you don't want to do that with a graphics booster, which I believe is still available from Stone Age Gamer, and they even have a cool little case for it, that's a great choice. I haven't had any problems with mine, and I had a couple different revisions over the years. So, I mean, if it's really, in my opinion, worth saving up and spending the money, and not because I'm friends with Renee, because electrically speaking, it's the safer option, and visually it actually looks better. So, and you know, there's nothing wrong with the SSD S3 as long as you're prepared to do the extra work and spend the extra money after already spending a lot of money on it. But hopefully that's a decent answer. Well, that was another fun one. Thank you so much for taking the time to post the questions. I know about half of them, my answers weren't great, and you know, I'm just trying my best, and I'd always much rather be honest. I'd way rather look at the camera and tell somebody I don't know, but I'll try to find the answer, than try to come up with some bullshit off-the-cuff answer that's going to guide somebody down the wrong path. So I'll keep trying though, and please keep them coming, because I do have a lot of fun doing these. And you know, post whatever you want. I'll try to answer almost every one of them. And as always, you know, thank you so much for all your support. Any feedback you guys have, I always listen. And as far as the way this Q&A has been going, for the short term, I've been having fun. I kind of like the laid-back sense of things, and I guess it just feels a little more personal, just firing up the camera and talking like this. But as always, I want these Patreon videos to reflect whatever you guys want to see as far as content goes. So please feel free to post down below any suggestions that you have, and whatever you guys want. I'm totally down for it, because I just really appreciate all the support, because none of this stuff could happen without it. So, you know, hopefully too, my time will start to free up a little bit more in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I am moving in mid-June, so that's going to throw a wrench into things as well. But hopefully I'm on the right track, and we'll keep this stuff going and have some more fun next week. So post down below, and I'll see you next time.